Hello everyone, I'm Figuristic Productions, and today I'll be looking at the GWToys G1 figure body. But before we start, I'd like to thank my friend who lent me this figure so that way I could review it and also customize it for him. But with that said, let's get right into it. Starting off with articulation, the figure body has 360-degree head rotation. In tandem with the neck, he's able to look this high up, this far down, and is also able to tilt his head side to side. Moving on to his shoulders, his arms go about this high up. They each have 360-degree rotation, and also each arm has bicep swivel. The arms have double jointed elbows that go to about 90 degrees, more or less, and his hands are on wrist hinges that allow for vertical hinge and also horizontal hinge. Moving on to his torso, he has 360-degree torso rotation and a lower diaphragm or lower torso joint that allows him to bend this much forward and this far back, as well as also letting him tilt from side to side. Moving on to his legs are able to kick about this high up. They're able to kick about this far back. They can split about this far, almost making a perfect split. And they also have thigh swivel. Moving on to the knees are double jointed and go about this far back. And his feet are on ball hinges that allow for his feet to go this far down, this high up, and also allow for a beautiful ankle pivot. Starting off with accessories, the figure body comes with 3 sets of hands. One set being a bandaged pair of fisted hands, a calm open palmed hand that aren't wrapped, and also a pair of gloved hands used for gripping items. Continuing with accessories, the figure body comes with a bunch of accessories that allow for customization. The one on the right is a neck peg used for custom heads that you want to put on this figure. Say if you want maybe a custom Bruce Wayne figure or a Batman head, so that way you can put it onto this figure. The others are gauntlet and also boot customizers. These are used so that way you could take it off the figure and put in your own custom boots and also your own custom gauntlets that you fit into the figure. As you can see here, the arm ports have holes in it so that way the pegs can fit into the figure. However, the calf or the leg customizers have these pegs here that are used to peg into boots. And also, they have this section here which is used to attach to the leg hinge or the leg piece that the original figure has. In all, this is used to customize your figure to the best of your ability using any products you want. And lastly, it comes with a pair of steel-toed boots. Moving on to sculpt and sculpt work, I'd like to say that this figure has very, very good sculpt, especially in the torso, the arms, and also the legs. Mainly because this figure is meant to be a customizer's dream, or basically any blank slate for a customizer. This figure is mostly unpainted, with a mostly skin-toned or like a plastic look to it, just so that way it can be used for any purpose that the user seems necessary for it. Take for example the head, which doesn't have any painted eyes, lips, ears, or even hair for that example. This is meant so that way the customer can paint it to any way or any design that they truly desire. But anyways, going back to the sculpt, I really like the sculpt of this figure. You can see on the shoulders that there are veins sculpted in, and that helps to kind of show, I guess, the strength or even just like the overall body design, as this is based off a very fit person that's probably peak human condition or peak human physique anyways. But moving on to the legs, you can see here that they even sculpted the muscles here. So you can see that, like I said before, this person is in very good shape, as they have really strong legs and they have very strong chest, very strong abs as well. You can also definitely see this on the arms, as there's separation in between used by the muscles and also just the different sculptures, so that way there's differentiation between the arms, so that way the arms don't look all the same, but at the same time there's enough differentiation so that way you could tell that there's different crevices. Even looking on the back, you can also see that the back even has sculpt on it, just so that way it gives more separation. This is very good, especially if you're going to apply a wash of sorts, so that way it helps, so that way your figure can actually have some separation, and also it even helps with that uncanny feeling with certain areas being darker than others when the paint is applied. And even the feet aren't an exception to this. The feet even have their toes sculpted, as well as toenails and even separation between them. So that way there's a almost seamless transition between one another. Showing off his bandaged hands, you can see that the sculpt of the bandaged hands actually have a thoroughly sculpted bandage all around the hands. You can even see that there are certain parts that stick out more than others, showing that it's kind of like a layered sense for the bandages. In addition, I love that you can even see the knuckles on it too, just so that way it creates more of that like physical look to it, making it seem like he wrapped his hands himself. In addition, you can even tell that on the left hand right here, you can even tell that at around this point right here, the bandages kind of stop, or at least the bandage design, mainly because it shows that he only wraps his bandages around his palm and his hand, leaving his fingers open so that way he has flexibility and also is able to use his fingers whenever he needs to. Overall, I'd say the sculpt is really good, even if it's just simple bandaged hands. Moving on to his gloved hands. And also, I forgot to mention that his fisted hands are actually the bandaged hands, so you're not able to hold anything while he has his hand bandaged. But anyways, moving on to the gloves. The gloves actually have quite a bit of separation and even texturing on it. And let's see. On camera here, if you can zoom in just a little bit, if the camera would focus, you can see that the gloves actually have kind of like a leathery texture to it, giving it more separation between just the skin and the glove itself. In addition, you can also see that there's even a blank space here, showing that he has the gloves over his skin. In addition, there's even a belt piece that's been sculpted and also has a button on it too, creating yet again more separation. As you can definitely tell, his right side of his glove is more of a trigger holding hand, while the left side is meant for more sturdy weapons, I'd say, maybe like a knife or a machete, while his other hand is meant for more of like a gun. And because I forgot earlier, let's take a quick look at his rested hands again. These hands, compared to the other ones, are not wrapped in any clothing or even have any like glove layer on them. They're just his plain hands. They're in a very calm position, which is a decent position that you could use for him to hold like some everyday items or even like just anything in general. It's very good for like a gripping hand, but it is also a rested hand. So the position in which it's going to be holding is not exactly the best. But looking at it, you can even see that they sculpted in the knuckles. There's even some texturing on the skin too to give it a little bit of separation. And also you can even see that they even sculpted the inside of his palm as like a different texture, and even like the back of the hand, just to give it that more separation that I've been talking about, and even just differentiation. As when you look at your real life skin, the back of your hand is very different from the palm of your hand. And although it's not exactly textured all the way, it still has enough texture to give it a little bit of separation from the rest of the body. Now, taking a look at his boots, you can see that the figure body actually has the boots itself is actually very well textured. You can see that the strings are individually sculpted on there, so that way they have separation. And there's even a kind of a bit of layering on the boot as well. As you can see that there's the bottom of the boot with treads as well. I love that they made this. They added extra treads onto here just to give it that little bit of flair and realism to it. But you can even see in the front, there's actually kind of like, I guess because it's a steel-toed boot, you actually have the steel on it. So there's actually the metal plating. In addition, you can even see that on the back of the boot and even on like the mid to upper part of it, it has a much different like layer of texture, making it look more of like a actually like a textured leather or animal leather look to it compared to the rest of the shoe towards here at the bottom side that kind of has like a smooth leather to it, just adding that little bit of differentiation between the entire boot. The only downside I'd say to this is that the plastic and also the molding of it does leave these weird lines right here, as you can see right here, and also as well on this side as well, which kind of looks weird, but overall it doesn't bother me too much. And if you're curious about how to apply these accessories or even change these things out, there's also a guide here recommending to use a hair dryer in order to take out the legs or at least the feet, the hands, and also as well as the neck piece. This also shows off the ankle joints as well. For a size comparison, here's the figure body next to the Marvel Legends Retro Spider-Man and also the Marvel Legends Shang-Chi. For a McFarlane comparison, here's the figure body next to the McFarlane 3 Jokers Batman and also the McFarlane Arkham Origins Deathstroke, which is customized by me, by the way. For a random comparison, here's the figure body next to the Jazwares Visitor from Fortnite series and also the Mattel Faker from Masters of the Universe. In conclusion, I would say this figure is very enjoyable. I love the sculpt of it, and although I did mention it in the rest of the review, I will say right now that the articulation is insanely smooth compared to a lot of other figures I've seen where it's kind of weird, where their arms are kind of janky or even ratcheted feeling, even though it's not even using ratchets. This figure has very, very smooth articulation. Another thing I want to say is that I love the pinless technology on this. It looks very good and it works very well for a figure that's not wearing any clothing and is meant to be more of like a fighter character. Furthermore, I would say that this figure is a very good opportunity for people to customize, especially if you're just bored and you just want to test some things out. I know for sure that I might even have some fun myself trying to customize this guy. But with that said, I've been Figuristic Productions. If you enjoyed this video at any point, consider hitting the like or the subscribe button. And if you want, even leave a comment down below telling me what figures you might want to look at for my channel, or even what you think my channel should cover just in general. But I'll see you all in the next one.